The world stands on the brink of a global war, and in a landscape reminiscent of the Cold War, the spectre of nuclear conflict has re-emerged. In multiple speeches and public appearances, Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned of the possible use of nuclear weapons. Russia will use all available means to defend itself, including nuclear weapons, he has declared. So what's behind Putin's nuclear threats? News9 Plus Decodes. President Putin may be motivated by a desire to prevent NATO's direct involvement in the Ukraine conflict and to sow fear and division among Western allies. Putin likely believes that by raising the stakes to the nuclear level, Western leaders may be forced to reconsider the risks of continued support for Ukraine. Some analysts also believe that Putin is using nuclear threats to bolster his domestic image. The narrative of Russia being surrounded by hostile forces has been central to his governance, and nuclear posturing reinforces the notion that he is the protector of Russian sovereignty against a perceived global conspiracy. Additionally, by brandishing nuclear options, Putin may hope to distract from Russia's conventional military weaknesses and project an image of battlefield strength. So what is Russia's nuclear doctrine? The Russian nuclear doctrine was traditionally framed around deterrence. Officially, Russia maintained that nuclear weapons would only be used in response to a nuclear attack or a conventional assault that endangered the very existence of the nation. However, this doctrine began to shift in recent years. In 2020, Russia updated its nuclear strategy. The revised doctrine introduced the possibility of using nuclear weapons not just in response to existential threats, but also in situations where Russia's critical infrastructure or command and control systems were attacked. This represented a subtle yet significant lowering of the threshold for nuclear use. The shift became even more pronounced with Putin's escalated rhetoric during the war in Ukraine. He has blurred the distinction between conventional and nuclear warfare by suggesting that Russia might use nuclear weapons in defense of newly annexed territories like those in Ukraine. In particular, Putin's assertion that threats to Russian-occupied regions could trigger nuclear retaliation marks a stark departure from previous Russian policy. This evolution in Russia's nuclear doctrine has raised serious concerns internationally. So how has the world responded to this threat? The global response to Putin's nuclear threats has been one of caution. US President Biden warned that any use of tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine could trigger catastrophic consequences for Russia. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg emphasized that nuclear weapons are unacceptable. And European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen called Putin's rhetoric irresponsible and dangerous. Even Russian allies like China have voiced their concerns, with President Xi Jinping stressing that nuclear wars cannot be won. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi echoed this, stating that this is not the era for war. While sanctions against Russia have intensified and military support for Ukraine has grown, the West has been careful not to escalate the nuclear rhetoric.